Okay, here we are today with a man I've respected for many, many years. We never really chatted that much, hardly, I guess. Mr. Ian King.
Hello.
Thank you very much for having us here today.
No problem.
It's an absolute pleasure. So let's look at your history,
Yes.
I guess, because that goes back a long, long way, not only with development and everything else, but how you first got into drag racing.
How I first got into it. I mean, the first time I went to Santa Pod was actually, I was in the Cub Scouts, I think it was, or Boy Scouts. We had a day trip to Santa Pod. So I lived at Royston, and Royston's only less than an hour away. And we went there and saw all these amazing vehicles and never seen anything like it before, of course. Was quite blown away. And then when I was old enough to have a motorcycle rather than just a moped, so I could go some distance, my friends and I used to go and race each other at Run What You Brungs at the weekends. And while we're there, I think I saw a Top Fuel bike, and I said I'd love to ride one of those. And my friend said, "No, don't be a fool. You never ride one of those. You'd be an idiot." And so that was a bit of a challenge to me. So
how long ago was that?
Well, I mean, I was 17. I mean, I'm 64 this year, so I was 17 at the time. So
so that would have been 70s.
Yeah. So
when you first went there, 70s, yeah. Wow.
So basically, I decided to go racing, and I was buying a lot of magazines at the time, and I was started to build specials. Specials at the time were what were described as sort of road race vehicles. So Harris Performance, Spondon, people like that would make chassis, and I'd buy a chassis or get them to build a chassis to my design. And then I'd put it on the road. So it'd be a race bike that was on the road. And then I'd take that to Santa Pod and try and beat my friends. And then I latched onto Superbike Magazine's competition, which was called Ultimate Street Bike. And at that time, it was where you could go and race on a drag strip outside of drag racing. It was a bit sort of, I won't say it was outlaw, but it was nothing to do with mainstream drag racing.
No.
And we used to go along there and race other people, and eventually we were putting turbos and nitrous on them, and there are certain people doing it at the time that were iconic even now. People like my good friend Pip Hyam. Pip, I'm thinking about you at the moment. He's not very well.
Okay.
Chris Hampson, who was riding bikes for Pip at the time.
Good man.
Absolutely.
Known as Cannon.
Well, Chris Hannum was another one. Yes, absolutely. But Chris Hampson was a great rider, funny bike rider eventually, and then got into Top Fuel racing, Phil Bainbridge's bike. Unfortunately, Chris had an accident running against me at Santa Pod, and unfortunately lost his life there. So that was one of the downers of my life drag racing. But again, that's Ultimate Street Bike was a springboard. There was a number of other people that came through Ultimate Street Bike as well. People like Graham Dance, for example. We would do, and Chris Hannum that you mentioned. We all did Ultimate Street Bike first, and then got into mainstream drag racing. So it was quite a springboard.
So it seemed like in the early days you was building stuff, you was getting where you wanted it, putting nitrous into them and everything else. That must have given you a great big kick and wanting to jump on.
Absolutely. Well, it was all about power and speed at the time, and obviously we all wanted to go faster and faster and faster and quicker. And ultimately, I always aspired to have a funny bike first of all, which is what I did. I built a funny bike, had John Clift build me a chassis. John, I'm still very friendly with John's family through Julie Willis and Nikki and Mark Fossey, their husbands, and blah, blah, blah. And so we had a great time building that bike, rode that for a while, started to encounter Top Fuel bikes running obviously in what was called the competition bike class at the time, in the FIM competition. So funny bikes and Top Fuel bikes were running against each other then. And then I sort of realized that it was very difficult to beat these Top Fuel bikes anyway with a funny bike. So naturally it was sort of looking towards getting a Top Fuel bike. And I originally bought an unfinished project, which was a V8 powered Puma top fuel bike. And that bike was being developed by Pete Davis, who's the founder of Puma Engineering, the company I now own.
Yeah.
And the bike had sort of gone through a couple of other owners and never actually got finished. I bought it. And then in the meantime, while I was in the process of finishing it, a entrepreneur by the name of Ron Holland came up to me and said, look, I'd like to buy your V8 project off you. And he made me an offer I couldn't refuse. And it coincided with Phil and Frank Brackvogel's last quarter scorcher being put up for sale. So I bought that bike. And over the years developed that bike on down to low 6 seconds. And then decided to build, an all new state-of-art bike, which is the one that I last rode and which Neil Mitchell is currently riding.
Yeah, Neil, he's been around a long time as well, Neil.
Yeah, well, Neil came from Ultimate Street Bike as well.
Yeah.
So you can see Ultimate Street Bike was an amazing class. Yeah. Well, class was an amazing competition because it provided a nice way for people to race their street bikes off the road, but develop them quicker and quicker, and then ultimately it became a feeder into the drag classes.
Yeah. Now with the obviously, like you mentioned with Puma, do you just do the nitrous powered, or do you do other class?
So basically, Puma is that most of Puma is about nitromethane.
Yeah.
So mainly nitro classes. Yeah. We have built some engines that were used and have been used for what was called New Age funny bikes. New Age funny bikes actually were sort of pseudo top fuel bikes, but not running on nitromethane. A little bit like what Bob Brooks built and now Nigel Moore's racing Box of Frogs.
Yeah.
But there's been other people that had these sort of engine bikes. So basically what you had was an exceptionally strong engine, Puma engine, built for now over 2,500 horsepower bikes.
Yeah.
But you could therefore tune them to a much higher level than you could have tuned them with the standard funny bike type engine cases, which were standard OEM, Suzuki, Kawasaki, Honda.
Yeah.
So there's been a few of those, but predominantly it's nitromethane, nitro bikes, 4-cylinder bikes.
Keeps you busy, that.
Yeah, I mean, there's not that many people in the world doing top fuel bike. Unfortunately, I understand it's quite daunting for people to get into. It's deemed as being expensive, and of course, I would argue it's not an expensive class. It's the initial cost of investment is probably a little bit higher than running in other classes, but once you're in it, the attrition rate and the breakages suffered are very low as long as you're tuning the bike correctly.
Do you do the tuning as well now?
Yeah. On my own bike, basically, we had a great team, and between us, we all decided. I used to leave it up to my crew chief, Michael Beaumont, to make the calls, but Michael was working with Marius van der Zijden and Martin Brookman, Nick Pepper, and myself, and between us, we come up with an idea of which way to go. And obviously, I still have some input into the Neil's project, although Marius is doing a lot of the tuning work on his own with that. When I say on his own, I mean between him and Neil.
Yeah.
But I continue to develop parts with them for that bike to make it go quicker and quicker every year, which it does.
Massive engineering background as well, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's the great thing about top fuel bikes. It is the engineering. It's all about it's much less about the rider, which is what attracted me to it, because most of the development and the performance of the bikes are actually done off the track in your garages, in your workshop, at home, not so much at the track itself. So you can spend thousands of hours to go, 6 times up a track, 6 times 5 second passes up a track. It doesn't make any sense really, but that's how it is.
No, with them bikes, it almost looks like the rider is just laying on it and pulling the throttle. That's what it looks like.
Sure.
But it's not, is it? There's a lot more involved in that. But it's just for the spectator point of view.
Yes.
Lay there.
Yeah. The problem is that, a lot of people have been bitten by actually riding them as if that's all you have to do.
Mm.
The thing is, you have to be steering the bike all the way down the track.
And sometimes on one wheel.
Correct. Well, I mean, generally all of my passes were on the back wheel, at least in latter times. So you can't steer the bike with the handlebars. So you have to steer them with your body, either using, wind resistance or body English, as the Americans call it, or using the foot pegs, pushing on the foot pegs to steer the bike. Well, you don't want to make hasty, dramatic movements, because that can unsettle the bike and send you off completely in other directions. So most of the riding of the bike is quite subtle. So you don't see what's happening. An onlooker would look and think, oh, that was quick and that was fast, but it was straight, so it was easy. But in actual fact, the rider's making a lot of minute adjustments as they go down the track just to make sure that bike.
You can see it in a way, because there's a lot of, but not a lot, but it's a fair bit of control there.
Yeah, but you've probably seen, particularly when new riders get on the bike, rookie riders, they'll get on and then they'll go towards the wall and have to shut off. And they'll continue to have to do that until they realise the nuances of riding the bike.
And handling it and taking it where it wants to go. Because it is like a missile, isn't it, in a way?
It is. And the other thing is, you really do need to full throttle it off the line, because you need to get the tyre growing, you need to get the wheel speed, and you need to get the tyre spinning a bit for it to go as straight as possible. The problem is, if you try and ride it slowly, it'll just flop around and then you'll fall off, basically, which people have to.
I mean, a lot of people have got a hell of a lot of respect for you, and you have been in the motor game for a long time. I noticed you've got like the golf truck and all that sort of stuff throughout your career, really.
Well, I've always been into motorcycles. I mean, I remember when I was about 11 years old, there was a guy who used to ride down my road to see his girlfriend, and he used to ride a 750 SS Ducati, a yellow one. And I always loved the sound of the bike, a big V-twin. It sounded fantastic, looked gorgeous, this bike. And that sort of got me into bikes. And then as kids, if you like, or youngsters, we used to spend all our times down what was called the dump then, which is now the recycling centre, but it was when you could actually go around the dump and just pick stuff up and bring it home, without anyone telling you can't touch that. No, that's too dangerous, and don't get off that pile of stuff. And so I went to the dump one day with a friend, and I found a rally chopper push bike that was in bits. Well, basically it was disassembled. There was a Gorelli scooter there, an engine and a rear wheel. And anyway, dragged all this stuff home, and it was quite a long way. I remember bringing it home to my house. And then went in Exchange and Mart, and we found an advert for a stick welder, which was basically just a welding rod and a trigger. And all you did was connect it to a car battery, and then you could weld things with it, which was amazing. So between me and my friend, we made this sort of rally chopper, Gorelli scooter hybrid thing. And actually we've got it running. So that was my first special, if you like, I built, which was when I was 12.
So you weren't going into like the Yamaha Fizzies and all that.
Well, I wasn't old enough then. I was only 12.
That's what I'm saying. But as you got older, did you go into them?
Yeah. So then what happened was, I was so into the bikes. Then I started working part time in the motorcycle shop in Royston, which was originally Pepper and Hayward's. Then it became Andy Lee Motorcycles. Then it went back to being Pepper and Hayward's. But I used to work in there behind the counter, and used to do various things to do with bikes, obviously. And when I was 15, I'd earned enough money to buy a proper bike, which at the time, a proper bike, and I bought a 750 Honda F1. I was only 15, and so it was illegal for me to ride, but I decided I was going to ride it to school one day and show off, because the older boys used to turn up and impress all the girls. So I thought, I'm going to do that. So I rode down the road on my 750 F1, never having ridden a bike that size and that weight before, and couldn't quite negotiate the corner at the bottom and fell off the thing. But anyway, fixed it. But that was my first real bike. And then when I was 16, I got an AP50. My grandparents kindly bought me an AP50 as a combined Christmas and birthday present, which was obviously very nice, because we weren't a particularly wealthy family at all. And that was my first bike, first legal bike was
Legal.
a Suzuki AP50.
Right.
And ever since then, I've always had bikes all through my life. I've had so many bikes. And I continue to work in the motorcycle shop. And I actually wanted to work in motorcycles, but the problem was I'd been studying electronics by then at college and stuff like that. And my career took a different diversion. You know, working in motorcycle shops didn't pay very well, but working in the electronics industry did.
Yeah.
So that's where I went originally. And that was it until a few years ago when I decided that I would still like to work in the motorcycle industry. And I was sort of old enough and ugly enough to be able to sort of stand on my own 2 feet and not rely just on income from my salary. You know, I was doing a lot of work with bikes and other things. So I went to work for Suzuki for a few years, which was a great time. And I still have many friends that work at Suzuki.
And was that a lot more around circuit racing?
Yeah, well, that was the thing, really, because although Suzuki, you know, Hayabusas are dominant, if you like, in super street bike, but Suzuki as a corporation, obviously, they're more into circuit racing. So that's when I started to get back into interesting things that were going on in circuit racing. I mean, my nephew, Luke Mossy, he races in BSB. His dad and I went to Brands Hatch Race School when we were young. That's how we first got into bikes and bike racing, I should say.
Yeah.
And I decided to stick in the drag race route, whereas John Mossy went the road race route. Yeah. And that's how his son Luke and Jamie at the time got into to road racing. But it opened up a different world to me, and I started to come across, you know, road race bikes, old Grand Prix bikes, World Super bikes, that sort of thing. And I found that was quite an interesting diversion to be able to work on these bikes and ride them and take them to places, get invited to places like Festival of Speed and various other fantastic events that we go to across Europe. In fact, I'm going to Northern Ireland this weekend to an event Philip McCallan's running at Bishop's Court with 3 of my bikes. So I'm filling up gaps where I'm not racing my top fuel bike,
but you're enjoying
but motorcycles.
Yeah, and that's the way forward, isn't it? All the time.
Yeah.
Every day, every week, and everything else, you're still fixated on that thing.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, on the outside of all that, you're part of the team with the FIM as well. Yeah,
so I'm involved in the FIM, but mainly through the drag race, through the road race side. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I'm country manager UK and Ireland for an organisation for the owners of these former race bikes, and we are charged by the FIM with being able to organise these bikes, guarantee the provenance of these bikes, because there's a lot of replicas around that purport to be things they're not.
Right.
So I'm very much involved with that. And then on the ACU side, which is the UK Motorcycle Federation, I'm still the drag race coordinator for the ACU series. So I'm very heavily involved in that, rule making, all the stuff that goes with that. I was, after being inducted into the Hall of Fame a few years ago, recently I was asked would I come and join them as a selector from the motorcycle inductees, future inductees, which was a great honour. And so I've got involved in that as well. And I also, as you probably know, now race and own a Nostalgia Superstock car, which I haven't found much time to drive, but it's great fun. And a lot of people ask me, well, it's a 10-second car. It must feel slow compared to your bike. Well, it does feel slow compared to my bike. Of course it does, but it's actually the fastest car I've ever driven. Yeah. So the good thing for me is, in my mind, I haven't been any quicker.
So you're 10 seconds just under the 9, near 9?
Yeah, just around the, just over the 10-second mark.
Yeah, that's
so
amazing.
At the moment, anyway.
Yeah.
But it's fine. I'm not a mad keen fan of ET racing, but I understand its place. It also allows me to race against quicker cars and slower cars, but competitively. But the camaraderie is fantastic. It's an excuse to be at the racetrack. Yeah. So I go to the racetrack. I'm involved with my old Top Fuel bike with Neil Midgley and his team. Yeah. And some of my former team members are helping him on the team still. and also I get my fix of on-track action with my Nostalgia Superstock car.
Yeah, that's
they're a great bunch of people, and all the teams that are running it are great.
And those ones, so you'll be doing like Dragstalgia.
Yeah, so we have 6 events a year, effectively, 3 of which are non-permitted, and 3 are permitted. I run under a sanction, so for the 3 permitted, you need race licenses and all the kit and caboodle. The non-sanctioned ones, which are the lifestyle events, you can do pretty much what you want within reason, of course. And Dragstalgia is one of those. You're right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I couldn't make Dragstalgia because I was off racing at another event with my road race bikes that weekend in Clash, and I'd already made a commitment, so I couldn't do it. But
it's always a hunger for you, isn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I mean, I just love being on track. But most of all, I love the people that come and watch us. The fans are fantastic, drag race fans. And I love the people that participate as well. They're sort of my life, my family, if you like.
One of the races at the weekend sort of said something very interesting to me. I won't mention any names, but people have got to realise this is a hobby.
Yeah,
costing money.
Sure,
but it's a hobby for you guys. It's a hobby.
No, absolutely. I mean, you can't. I mean, with very few exceptions, most people, obviously go to work to pay to go racing. They don't go racing because they earn money from it. Obviously, there's some people that have managed to make a business around their interest, but they didn't start with a business, Jerry. No. They started drag racing, then saw that they could do something. Obviously, when Pummer Engineering came up for sale a number of years ago, way back in 2008, I think it was, the only reason I took that on was because I didn't want to see Top Fuel Bike suffer as a result of Pete Davis not continuing to make engines for people.
Yeah.
Because at that time, there wasn't anyone else doing it. Almatret had stopped doing it because he'd passed.
Yeah.
So I was worried about Top Fuel Bike being my class. So myself and a friend decided to acquire it. Make an agreement with Pete. And then since then, we've developed those engines, those platforms onto the level they are now.
Yeah.
And adding different components like cylinder heads, special 3-valve heads, and all the other stuff we do for people like Rickard Gustafsson and Rene and Larry McBride and all the, that sort of thing.
Cool, Mr. Vanderberg. Yeah, it's good. So they're all they're all great people out there, and as you say, the camaraderie within the bikes right the way through the pit lane doesn't go with just the 950s, 850. It goes all the way through.
Sure.
So everyone asks, when you speak to the young people coming through now, like Jake Michelle and his boy, fantastic, great to see. He's obviously running a successful business as well.
Sure.
And that's really good to see.
Yeah.
And then you've got the junior stars coming through as well.
Yeah.
It's great.
No, as I said, it's the main thing is that it has to be enjoyable. If it's not enjoyable, you really shouldn't do it. It's not for you. A lot of people over the years have said, I wish we could be like NHRA, we could be like this and do that. But, I've often thought, be careful what you wish for. Once it becomes, should I say, a need to win, to earn money, to live, then it's a completely different deal then. And it's not as much fun as it is when you're doing it because you want to do it, not because you have to do it.
Yeah, because that is, in the States, more so than here, it's a professional organisation where they turn up with 4 or 5 trucks. They break an engine, they put another one in, they put another one
Absolutely,
in.
yeah. There's much less, should I say, thought, because, we have to protect our investment, here. As you said, it's not unlimited money. We don't have lots of engines, even though I make my own engines. I only ever ran with one, only ever needed one.
Yeah.
And the whole point is that, drag racing should be as affordable as possible for as many people as possible. That's why I've always been against rules that have actually added cost, unless it's a safety issue. But rule changes, technical rule changes, I've not been a big fan of, where they've sort of given a leg up to someone. That meant that everyone else has to get a leg up, which means they all have to spend more money, which then becomes more expensive. And there's been certain things that have happened to like Super Street Bike class, which I haven't been totally happy with, but obviously you always have to, respect other people's decisions.
Have you been involved on the scrutineering side as well?
Well, I scrutineering wide. I've used to help out scrutineering at Santipod in the old days, because when they were busy, and they couldn't scrutineer the bikes quick enough. I used to help out. I've always held a senior technical official's license. Actually, now I am an FIM, senior technical scrutineer, senior technical official, so I can take charge of a MotoGP team and speedway or motocross. So I do all disciplines. So yes, I'm very, very, how can I put it, involved in the very highest level of motorcycle
and
technology.
the safety side of it. But obviously, like you say, there are ones that get put in there that aren't necessary.
Yeah, I mean, there are safety, is paramount.
Absolutely.
Obviously, I've seen too many people that have sadly become injured or passed away as a result of racing accidents, and everything that happens there should be acted upon as soon as possible. Technology-wise, though, I've not been a big fan of changing rules just for the sake of changing rules.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't generally bring anything other than cost.
Yeah.
As I said, we've lost out a little bit in Super Street Bike. It's got too expensive for some guys.
Yeah.
Because of certain rule changes, and they can no longer keep up and afford to do so, and that's why. But luckily for the other classes, they've moved across into classes like 850 or competition bike, that sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah, and they're doing quite well. Some of those.
Absolutely,
good feels a lot of the time.
I mean, you can, as we've discussed before. As you've seen that the cost of living's gone up, and it's become more difficult for people to operate in the pro classes in the way they used to. A lot of people have decided to make that change to a sportsman class where it's more affordable, as much fun, arguably.
Yep.
And still continue to drag race, but at a level they can afford rather than at a level which really they can't afford. And it's been great. I mean, 850 has been a great class, is a great class, and has been growing.
Yeah.
Competition bike over the years has grown again. So there's been some great, but I mean, most of the classes are cyclic. Who knows, in 10 years' time, you might find we'll get record fields of top fuel cars, nitro funny cars, top fuel bikes again.
Yeah.
Just things go through those cycles over time.
Yeah, it seems to be there. Seems to be, I'm not sure, but there seems to be a little bit more of a push towards the nitro funny cars again. And the nostalgia ones possibly as well coming.
Yeah, I think the thing is with the funny cars, there's most of the funny car teams are independent funny car teams. They tend to be more the people that really love that class.
Yeah.
Dragsters tended to be more people that wanted to get into nitro car racing. And therefore there were a number of people, like Knut Soderquist, like Rune Fjeld and that were willing to run the cars on behalf of the people that were paying to drive them.
Yeah.
So that's what they tend to do, and that's what's happened. And it's been great for the class because, Knut and Rune, they've had such great experience and expertise, and they know how to run cars well, fast, safe.
Yeah.
Obviously, Knut's passed away now, so it only left really Rune, to be able to do it.
For a little while, it was the Andersons as well.
Correct, but the Andersons basically, they were doing, it was a one car team really.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I've always been a fan of the funny cars because, as you know, they require a little bit more driving.
Yeah.
Because they're short, and the dragsters are another entity.
Yeah.
They're all great. Are all great cars. Probably funny cars in the car classes, but my favourite car class of all is, of course, Nostalgia Superstock, because I just love
absolutely
Nostalgia Superstock.
absolutely.
That's my class.
It's very, very interesting just talking to you and how many different aspects with your career, your early days.
Yeah.
Going to school on the 750.
Yeah.
Show the girls, I show them. So that's and then where you are now, it's amazing. And I'm really grateful that you've taken time out to do this.
No, it's not a problem. I mean, I've just been very lucky that over the years I've had the opportunity to race across the world, India, Malta, Middle East, Bahrain, America. We've done loads of fantastic things, and just so many stories that we can talk about.
Absolutely, and you could take all day doing that or more because of the history of these people. That's great. Ian, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much indeed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nigel.